Once upon a moonlit night, in the heart of the kingdom of Miravail, there lay a forest unlike any other. Its trees were ancient sentinels, their branches woven into intricate patterns that whispered secrets when the wind blew. The villagers spoke of the whispering woods in hushed tones, telling tales of a lonely spirit that roamed beneath the canopy, searching for something long lost. Amara, a young seamstress, had grown up hearing these stories. Since childhood, she felt drawn to the forest's edge, though fear held her back when night fell. Yet tonight was different. She clutched a faded satchel containing her mother's final gift, a delicate golden pendant shaped like a key. Her mother had whispered, on her deathbed, that this key would unlock Amara's destiny. Determined, Amara pushed open the iron gate that marked the entrance to the Whispering Woods. As the gate creaked shut behind her, the village lights faded into darkness. The forest seemed alive, its shadows danced and twirled. Every step Amara took, the pendant glowed faintly, guiding her deeper through the ancient trunks. Her heart pounded, but she pressed on, convinced that the key led to answers about her mother's past and the strange power she sensed within herself. Chapter 2. The haunted path. The forest path wound ever deeper, trees overhead forming a vaulted ceiling of leaves. Strange shapes flickered at the edge of Amara's vision, golden eyes watching from the darkness. She swallowed her fear, pressing forward. She could feel the magic that thrummed in the earth beneath her feet, as if something waited for her purposefully. Suddenly, the path split in two. One fork sloped downward, a dense mist curling over twisted roots. The other climbed a gentle hill, where faint candlelight blinked between gnarled branches. The pendant pulsed, its glow stronger pointing toward the hill. Amara ascended cautiously, each step echoing in the quiet gloom. At the top, she found a forgotten chapel, its stone walls moss-covered and broken-stained glass depicting a winged figure holding a key. The pews lay shattered, and vines curled around the altar. On the altar lay an ancient book bound in worn leather. Amara approached, her fingers trembling as she opened it. The pages crackled, revealing hand-drawn sketches of a girl, herself, standing before a colossal oak bearing a door in its trunk. Underneath, a single line, "Only the key-bearer may awaken the sleeping." Suddenly, a low growl rumbled through the chapel. Amara spun, meeting the gaze of a massive wolf with fur like shadow and eyes of burning amber. The wolf's howl echoed, reverberating through her bones. Frozen, she watched as the wolf padded toward the altar, nostrils sniffing the air. With trembling urgency, Amara clutched her pendant, praying it would save her. Chapter 3. The wolf's trial. As the wolf approached, its eyes locked onto the pendant around Amara's neck. It hesitated, tilting its head, as if recognizing the significance of the key. Heart racing, Amara remembered her mother's words, "Show no fear, child, for courage is the greatest magic." She stood tall, meeting the wolf's gaze. The wolf lunged, then stopped mere inches from her. Time seemed to stretch. Amara held her breath, wondering if she would be torn apart. Instead, the wolf lowered its head and exhaled a breath that smelled of wet earth and wildflowers. It stepped back, and Amara felt a surge of compassion wash over her. Gently, she reached out, tracing a finger along its ebony fur. The wolf closed its eyes, leaning into her touch. Relief and wonder flooded Amara's heart. The wolf bowed its head, then turned and vanished into a hidden passage behind the altar, leaving a trail of dust motes dancing in the moonlight. Amara stepped forward, pushing aside a tapestry that concealed the entrance. Torchlight flickered beyond, beckoning her onward. Chapter 4. The Ironwood Tree. The secret passage led to a vast cavern where enormous roots wound across the floor like sleeping serpents. At its center stood the ironwood tree, its trunk broad and twisted, iron-like bark that gleamed under torchlight. Embedded in its trunk was an ornate door, exactly as the sketches had shown. The door's lock matched the shape of Amara's golden key. A hush fell over the chamber as Amara approached. Her hand trembled as she lifted the pendant and fitted it into the lock. The moment metal touched metal, a rumble shook the cavern. The roots quivered, and the door glowed with a pale sapphire light. Taking a deep breath, Amara turned the key. The ironwood tree shuddered, and the door swung open to reveal a staircase spiraling into darkness. A cool breeze drifted upward, carrying the scent of lilies and distant storms. Stepping inside, Amara felt a rush of memories not her own, her mother's laughter, her lullabies, and a promise whispered in the night, "Find me where the sleeping heart blooms." Chapter 5. The underground realm. Amara descended the staircase, torch in hand. The air grew damp and cold. At the bottom, she entered a subterranean realm bathed in moonlight filtering through cracks in the ceiling. Bioluminescent flowers clung to moss-covered rocks, their petals glowing in ethereal hues. Small pools of water reflected the magical glow, revealing pale fish darting beneath the surface. In the center of the cavern lay a frozen pond, its surface shimmering like glass. Surrounding the pond were statues of weeping figures, their eyes closed and faces sorrowful. Amara felt a tug in her chest, as if the pond's stillness echoed an unspoken grief. She knelt by its edge, and a voice whispered in her mind, "Save us." Wiping her tears away, Amara realized the statues represented souls trapped in silence, a curse cast long ago. She knew this was her trial. Clutching the pendant, she whispered, "I will free you." The pendant glowed brighter than ever, sending ripples of light across the pond. A gust of wind swept through the cavern, and the ice cracked, forming jagged lines that raced outward. Suddenly, a hand burst through the ice, followed by another, and soon the frozen water erupted as 5 spirits emerged. They hovered above the pond, translucent and trembling. Their eyes met Amara's, filled with hope and relief. One spirit, a soldier in tarnished armor, stepped forward. "We are the guardians of the ironwood," he said, voice echoing like distant thunder. "For centuries we were trapped, bound to protect the heart of the forest. Only the key-bearer can break our prison." Chapter 6. The forest's heart. Amara listened as the guardians spoke of a looming darkness, a plague that sought to consume the kingdom. They explained that their sacrifice bound the darkness for ages, but now their strength waned. "The curse that felled us lies in the heart of Miravale," said the spirit. "You must find a source of shadows and restore the balance, or the forest and its people will fall." Fear gripped Amara as she contemplated the enormity of her task. Yet the pendant's warmth against her chest gave her courage. She agreed to their pleas. The spirits guided her to a hidden passage leading upward, urging her to gather allies and forge a path to the castle where the dark force had taken root. As Amara ascended, the guardians faded, their voices whispering blessings. When she emerged into the forest once more, dawn painted the sky in golden hues. Birds sang, and the trees seemed to sigh with relief at their liberation. Yet Amara knew the true trial lay ahead. Chapter 7. The village in peril. Returning to her village, Amara found chaos. Houses burned, and villagers fled as shadows writhed in the streets. In the distance stood the castle of King Alastair, its spires shrouded in swirling darkness. From its towers came a chilling wind that sucked the warmth from the land. Amara raced through the ruined streets, heart-pounding. She spotted her best friend, Jorin, trapped beneath a fallen beam. With all her might, she lifted the heavy wood, freeing him. Jorin gasped for breath, his eyes wide with fear. Amara, he whispered. They came from the castle, creatures made of night. As they fled, a pack of shadow wolves emerged, their forms shifting like smoke. Amara raised her pendant, its glow shining like dawn. The wolves snarled, lashing at her, but she held her ground. Light erupted from the pendant, sending the wolves sprawling. The creatures dissolved into wisps of darkness, screaming as they vanished. Jorin stared at her in awe. Your mother's gift, it's magic. Amara hugged him, tears in her eyes. I must reach the castle before it's too late. Nodding, Jorin joined her side, determined to help. Chapter 8. The Allies Gather. Word of Amara's courage spread quickly. Along the way, she encountered travelers fleeing the kingdom. Some joined her, Elara, a skilled archer seeking vengeance for her village, Tomas, a humble blacksmith determined to protect the innocent, and Leora, a healer whose family's fate was entwined with the forest's magic. Together, they crossed the Whispering Woods, where spirits guided their path and ancient runes glowed beneath mossy stones. At twilight, they arrived at the ancient ruins of Elderwin, where the forest's oldest magic still pulsed. Surrounded by fallen columns and statues of pale stone, the group camped beneath a canopy of stars. That night, Amara dreamed of her mother. In the dream, her mother's voice called from a silver pool. Find the Heartstone, she whispered, and the shadow will be banished. Amara awoke with a start. Her mother's words filled her mind. She realized that the Heartstone must lie within the castle itself, perhaps hidden in a forgotten chamber. Chapter 9. The castle of shadows. The journey to the castle was treacherous. The land outside its walls lay in ruin, fields of withered crops, rivers choked with black sludge, and trees twisted into grotesque shapes. The castle's gates, wrought iron and impossibly tall, stood open, as if inviting intruders into its grasp. A thick mist curled around its base, obscuring the moat. Steeling herself, Amara and her companions entered. Inside, grand halls once resplendent with marble and gilded tapestries were now draped in crawling darkness. The air tasted of ash and decay. Whispered voices echoed through deserted corridors, urging them to turn back. As they ventured deeper, they faced trials, hallways lined with living shadows that reached out, trying to snatch their souls, rooms where mirrors reflected twisted nightmares, trapping them in illusions of their worst fears. Each trial tested their resolve, but Amara's light pushed them forward. At the center of the castle lay the throne room, where a vast chandelier hung shattered, and the throne itself was encrusted with obsidian spikes. Seated upon it was a figure cloaked in shadows, its eyes glowing like embers. The figure spoke, "Welcome, Keybearer. You have come far, but your journey ends here." Chapter 10. Confrontation. Amara stepped forward, heart pounding. "Who are you?" she demanded. The shadowy figure rose, revealing a twisted crown of black iron and a face half veiled in darkness, half human. "I am Queen Seraphine," the figure said, voice echoing like a chorus of ghosts. "Once I ruled this land with grace, but betrayal led me to embrace the darkness. Now I am its vessel. Surrender the Heartstone, and I may yet spare your world." Anger flared in Amara's chest. I will not let you destroy everything my mother died to protect." Seraphine laughed, a sound that rang like cracked glass. She raised a staff shaped like a thorny vine, and the throne room filled with tendrils of shadow that coiled toward Amara. The companions moved to defend her. Alara loosed arrows that shattered the tendrils. Tomas swung his hammer, dispersing darkness with sparks of iron, and Leora chanted a healing spell that formed a shield of gentle light around them. As the battle raged, Seraphine advanced toward Amara. "You cannot win," she hissed. "The darkness is eternal." Amara clutched her pendant. "Light endures," she whispered. Suddenly, a beam of pure moonlight streamed through a crack in the ceiling, illuminating the heartstone, an opal the size of a child's fist embedded in the floor before the throne. Chapter 11. The Heartstone. With tears in her eyes, Amara dashed toward the heartstone. Seraphine raised her staff, and darkness surged to block her path. Amara fell to her knees beside the opal, pressing its surface. The stone flared with prismatic light, sending ripples across the floor. The shadow tendrils recoiled as if in pain. Seraphine snarled and lunged for Amara, but the guardian spirits, freed by the heartstone's light, materialized behind her. They formed a protective circle, forcing Seraphine back. Amara felt her mother's presence, warm and loving, guiding her hand as she lifted the heartstone. The moment the heartstone left the ground, a wave of light exploded through the throne room. Darkness screamed as it was torn from every corner. The tendrils dissolved, and Seraphine fell to her knees, her crown of shadows shattering. Tears streamed down her face, and she sobbed mercy. Amara advanced, holding the heartstone before her. "I give you mercy," she said softly, "but your reign of darkness ends now." She pressed the opal's surface. A beam of light shot upward, piercing the ceiling as sunlight flooded into the cavernous hall, bathing Seraphine in its warmth. Chapter 12. The redemption Seraphine's form shifted as the light enveloped her. The dark veil lifted, revealing the queen she once was, regal, compassionate, but marked by sorrow. "Amara," she whispered, "you have saved me and the kingdom." The heartstone's glow faded, and Seraphine's gaze softened. "I was lost, consumed by grief and betrayal, but you reminded me of hope." Amara helped Seraphine to her feet. The queen's eyes met hers, and Amara saw the tears of a woman restored. "Your mother would be proud," Seraphine said gently. "Her sacrifice lives on in you." Beyond the castle walls, the darkness receded. The mist lifted, rivers cleared, and the land began to heal. The whispering woods hummed with life once more, and the villagers emerged from hiding, their faces filled with wonder. Amara's companions gathered around her as Seraphine mounted the throne, now shining with renewed splendor. Chapter 13. A new dawn in the weeks that followed, Miravail blossomed under Seraphine's just rule. The kingdom honored the guardians of the ironwood, and their statues were placed in the village square as symbols of eternal vigilance. Amara returned to her work as a seamstress, but her heart had been forever changed by the journey she had undertaken. One dawn, she climbed the hill overlooking the whispering woods. The trees stood tall, their branches rustling in greeting. In her hand, she held the golden pendant, her mother's gift, which now shone with a soft, steady light. Amara closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of gratitude to the woman who had given her courage. As the sun rose, Amara felt the forest's magic flow through her, a gentle reminder that she was part of something greater. With a smile, she turned toward the village, ready to embrace the future. For she knew that, though darkness might descend again, the light of hope and the love of those who believed in her would always prevail. Chapter 14. The Festival of Light. Months later, peace reigned over Miravail. To honor the restoration, Queen Seraphine declared a festival of light. Banners of gold and silver fluttered in the breeze, and lanterns were strung from every rooftop, casting a gentle glow. Amara awoke before dawn and joined Joe Rin in his bakery. Together they kneaded dough, sharing a quiet laugh. The simple act of baking bread felt like a miracle after all they had endured. At sunrise, Amara and her friends gathered in the village square. Alara, her arrow sheathed, exchanged news with Tomas, who had returned to forging tools. Liara, now master healer, led villagers in carrying flower garlands to the guardian statues that stood gleaming in the square. The crowd watched as Seraphine arrived in a carriage entwined with living ivy. She stepped down, her gown pale as dawn. Placing a hand on Amara's pendant, the queen said, "You've given Miravail hope." Amara smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. The festival began with drums and music. Tables were piled with sweet treats, and artisans displayed tapestries of the ironwood tree and the guardians. As twilight fell, lanterns were lit, bathing the village in warm light. Under the Whispering Wood's ancient archway, Amara looked up at the swaying branches. Joe Rin joined her, taking her hand. "We did it," he whispered. Amara nodded, remembering how frightened they had been. "But we had each other," she replied. Fireworks exploded overhead in shades of violet and emerald, reflecting in the villagers' odd faces. Alara and Tomas danced nearby, their laughter filling the night. Liara offered healing salves to those who remembered last year's wounds. Amara's gaze settled on a banner depicting the ironwood tree. She thought of her mother's sacrifice and felt a swell of pride. With the kingdom restored, her promise echoed in her heart, "I will protect this lake." As the final fireworks faded, the villagers cheered. The festival celebrated not just victory, but the enduring power of courage and love. In the hush that followed, the Whispering Wood seemed to ring with approval, its leaves rustling in a gentle benediction. And so, under the moonlit sky, Miravail embraced a new dawn, reminded that even after the darkest trials, hope and light would always prevail. Epilogue. Across the years, Amara's legacy grew. She became a guardian of the Whispering Woods, guiding travelers who sought its ancient wisdom. Children listened wide-eyed as she told her story, learning that courage and kindness could overcome any darkness. Joe Rin's bakery thrived, its ovens always warm and filled with the aroma of fresh bread, a gathering place where stories of hope were shared. Alara's watchful patrols kept the forest safe, her arrows laying silent tribute to fallen heroes. Tomas crafted a new gate for the Whispering Woods, forged of iron entwined with silver runes, symbolizing unity between the kingdom and the forest's guardians. Leora's healing talents traveled beyond the borders of Miravail, bringing comfort to those who heard of the kingdom's triumph. Each year, Amara lit a single lantern at the forest's edge, a beacon to remind everyone that even a single light can dispel the deepest shadow.